60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, noughties, is volume. And the change in volume, and of course hair. I mean, I had really short hair in 1966, really long hair in 1969, and then a lot of you had really big hair in the 1970s, and then by the 80s we're kind of coming back to normal, and now I think we just got what we got. But actually I mean volume on stage, because when I was 14 I was lucky enough to be earning enough money in semi-pro pubs and socials and dance halls and things to be able to afford a Vox AC 30 watt amplifier. And if we plugged into that now and turned it up, it would be really loud, but it would be horrible. But when I got to about, so I had that when I first joined the Moody's, and in fact I still use it to record now. But then I went to a 50 watt Marshall with a 4x12 cabinet, and then I noticed recently, I was looking at some stills from the Isle of Wight Festival in 1970. I noticed that I had a 200 watt high watt with a 100 watt slave. And so I had 400 watts, and John had the same. He had a 200 watt and a 100 watt slave. I could feel my flares flapping, you know. I made that bit up, but I remember Mike had two sets of those. So he had another 800 watts over there. So we had 1600 watts of power between us. And even Graham our drummer had amplifiers to make that even louder. I suppose to try and fill the places that we were playing in by then. But then up in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, we met a young man called Gene Clare, who was an electronics engineer just starting out, and he built a PA system for us, which was also really loud. So then we were mega loud with that giant PA as well. But by the 80s, it slowly dawned on me that actually we didn't need that. If we had this lovely PA, we could come back in volume on stage. And so I came back to using my AC30 on stage, and one of these little Fender amps that's with also 30 American watts that Mike's using as a chair over there. And I think sonically, the 80s were probably the nicest decade for the Moody's. You know, trying to present what we did, what our thing was. And now, I think since I've met Mike, I realise what I really want to do is play these guitars and go back to when I was 13 years old. But the 80s was a wonderful decade for me, and to have success again, a second time round. I was 39 when a song called Your Wildest Dreams came out for the Moody's, and to have that success at that age, because in the 60s I kind of missed it. I know I was there, I've seen the photographs, I'm in them, but my mind was elsewhere, mystically, emotionally, chemically. But in the 80s I was alive, awake and aware, and taking it all in. And there's a couple of songs from that decade that I really loved, and they never had any airplay or anything like that, or nobody took any notice. But we'd like to, in spite of that, we'd like to do them for you now. And the first one of these is called Vintage Wine.